I found the dollhouse in my parents' attic while helping them clean. It wasn't with toys, it wasn't dusty. It was wrapped in a quilt like glassware, heavy, hand-built, and packed the way you pack something you're afraid to break. The roof lifted off in one piece, and the first room made my hands go numb, because it wasn't a dollhouse room. It was an exact replica of our living room. The left cushion on the couch sagged the same way. The coffee table had the same water ring near the corner, and the wall, right behind where the bookcase used to be, had that thin scratch my dad swore he barely touched. Not similar. Exact. I set the roof back on and just stared at it, waiting for my brain to find a normal explanation. None came. I carried it downstairs and put it on the dining room table. My mom frowned like she didn't recognize it. My dad glanced once and shrugged. "Probably from the previous owners," he said, too quickly, then walked out of the room like the conversation had already made him uncomfortable. That night I went into our living room and checked the scratch. It was gone. Not patched, not painted. Gone like it had never been there in the first place. I pressed my fingertips to the spot, expecting rough drywall, smooth. When I opened the dollhouse again, the miniature wall was smooth too. That's when coincidence stopped being an option. The next morning I tested it. Inside our pantry door, high enough that nobody would brush it by accident, I drew a short pencil line. Then I opened the dollhouse. The miniature pantry door had the same mark, same height, same angle, same pressure, like the pencil had hit wood the same way. A copy. Over the next few days, objects started disappearing. A chipped mug, a lamp, a hallway picture frame. Each time, the real thing vanished. And inside the dollhouse, a miniature version appeared, placed neatly where it belonged, as if the room had always been waiting for it. And it wasn't random. Nothing disappeared from the garage. Nothing disappeared from my dad's tools. Nothing disappeared from boxes in the attic. Only the lived-in spaces changed. The places that smelled like people. I started checking the dollhouse the way people check locks before bed. That's when I noticed the part that made it feel alive. It wasn't just copying the objects, it was copying the mess. A kitchen chair pushed out at the same lazy angle. A pillow on the couch turned the way my mom always straightened it. The rug corner that never stayed flat, curled in the miniature too. The dollhouse wasn't copying a blueprint. It was tracking the house in real time. Then it started updating faster. One morning, the dollhouse had a new room, a narrow bathroom squeezed into a space that didn't exist in our floor plan. That afternoon, my mom stood in the hall and asked casually, "Has it always been this long?" She tried to smile through it, but her eyes kept flicking to the far end, like the distance didn't match the memory in her head. That night, I proved it. The hallway runner, our old carpet, used to stop an inch short of the baseboard by my room. Now it didn't. The carpet had been stretched farther down, like someone had tugged the entire house by the ends. I counted my steps. There were more. I opened the dollhouse. The miniature hallway was longer too, and at the end of it, a door. A door our house didn't have. Yet. The next day our dog vanished. No open gate, no broken collar, no barking, no scratching, nothing, just absence. That night I opened the dollhouse with my hands shaking so badly I had to set the roof down twice. On the miniature stairs was a figure curled the way my dog slept when he thought no one was watching. Same collar, same tag, not a toy, a still version, like life had been pressed flat and left there. I slammed the roof shut hard enough the dining chair legs squealed against the floor. The following morning my parents were wrong. My mom stared at the cabinets a little too long before grabbing a mug. My dad laughed a beat late, like he was waiting to hear someone else laugh first. They kept moving through the house like actors who'd forgotten the order of their lines. That afternoon, their bedroom door was closed. They never closed it during the day. I knocked. No answer. When I opened it, the room was empty. Beds made, closets bare, nightstands cleared. But their phones were still plugged in beside the bed, charging, screens dark, like they'd been dropped and abandoned mid-thought. My chest tightened so hard I couldn't get a full breath. I tore through the house calling their names until my throat burned. Nothing. And then, because I was out of places to look, I went to the dining room, to the dollhouse. Inside the upstairs bedroom were two new figures, my parents, standing, not posed, paused mid-motion. My mom's hand lifted like she'd been reaching for the door. My dad's head turned like he'd heard something behind him. Their eyes were open, focused, aware. I stumbled back and grabbed my phone so hard I nearly dropped it. I dialed 911. The operator answered, but the voice on the other end didn't say 911. It said my name, in my voice, perfectly. And then I heard the words I was about to say half a second before I said them. I looked down. On the dining table, the dollhouse had changed again. A tiny figure stood beside the miniature dining table, holding a tiny phone to its ear, holding it the way I was holding mine. My hand went numb. The operator, my voice, said calmly, "Stay still. It finishes cleaner." The room tilted, not like dizziness, like the world had been resized. The air thickened, sound sharpened. My own breathing echoed too close, like I was inside a box. I turned and saw the room framed in wood, tiny walls, tiny furniture, and outside, impossibly large, was a face staring down through the opening. My face, frozen, looking in. I tried to scream. Nothing came out because my mouth didn't move. Then the roof lowered. Darkness pressed in, and somewhere above me, very close, a whisper slipped through the seam. "Now it's finished."
We found it by accident, off a highway exit in the middle of nowhere. A hand-painted sign read, "World's largest dollhouse. Walk inside it felt like a joke attraction. Something you stop at ironically and tell your friends about later." The building looked like a dollhouse too neat, perfect trim. Windows framed evenly, like someone obsessed over symmetry. The man at the door was old, polite, and careful with his hands. "Shoes wiped," he said gently. "The floors are delicate." He held out a cloth. Not a welcome mat. A cloth. Like he expected us to be handled. My mom wiped her shoes first, laughing. My sister followed. The man nodded, satisfied, then pressed his thumb lightly against each of our wrists, like he was checking skin temperature or dryness. "Good," he murmured. "You'll take the finish." I didn't understand the words until later. Inside, the air felt wrong. Not cold like air conditioning. Cold like stone that never sees sunlight. The first room was a living room, fully furnished, perfectly staged. Then a kitchen. Then a child's bedroom with toys arranged mid-play, like someone paused the moment and stepped away. My sister laughed, uneasy. The dolls were too detailed. Not creepy at first glance, just specific. Fine pores, tiny veins in the whites of their eyes. A softness to their lips that didn't look carved. My mom said, "That's impressive." The man smiled. "Everything inside is preserved exactly as it was." Preserved. As what was. We walked deeper. The rooms didn't connect logically. Hallways turned where there shouldn't be space. A staircase climbed higher than the exterior looked capable of holding. I glanced out a window. The porch wasn't below us. The ground was. My dad asked how big the place was. The man answered without hesitation. "As big as it needs to be." That was when my sister stopped. We'd entered a dining room filled with dolls seated around a table, hands folded, heads angled slightly toward the doorway. Not smiling, not angry, just waiting, like they'd been posed mid-breath. My sister whispered, "Stop." I thought she meant "this is creepy." Then she said it again, slower. "Stop." Her arm was lifted halfway, fingers curled slightly, like a paused video. I grabbed her wrist. Warm. Alive. But her face had changed. A thin line traced down her cheek, barely visible. Not makeup, not shadow. Behind us, fracture. The man's voice stayed gentle. "Please don't touch the exhibits." My mom spun. "What did you do to her?" "Nothing," he said calmly. "She's being preserved." My father grabbed my sister's shoulders and pulled. The crack widened, and the sound wasn't ceramic breaking. It was wet. Her cheek didn't shatter. It peeled like a thin shell lifting off. Underneath was skin. Real skin. Veins. Tissue. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out, like her lungs could still work, but her face couldn't. The man sighed, truly annoyed now, but still quiet. Struggling ruins the finish. My dad stumbled back and hit the wall. The wall flexed, not like drywall, like something soft wearing a hard coat. His palm left a print. Then the surface smoothed itself. My dad stared at his hand like it didn't belong to him anymore. "Let us out," he said. The man nodded. "You may leave," he said gently, "but you can't leave unfinished." My dad turned for the front. The front door was gone. Not closed. Gone. In its place was a wallpapered wall, perfectly seamless, like the exit had never been part of the room. We ran. Rooms passed that felt lived in the wrong way. A kitchen that smelled faintly of old soap. A bedroom with an unmade bed that still held warmth. A nursery with a row of dolls posed like a family portrait. Every doll wore the same expression. Neutral. Focused. Waiting. We reached a hallway with a mirror at the end. My mom stopped. Not because of her reflection, because the mirror showed what the eye couldn't. A faint line had formed at her wrist. A seam. The mirror made it clearer, like a quality check under bright light. My dad grabbed her hand. Her skin felt cold, not fear cold, material cold. He wiped at the seam. It lifted, not like fabric, like a layer of finish coming loose. Underneath was smooth white, porcelain. Beneath that, red, alive. My mom made a sound that wasn't a scream. It was a breath that got caught on the way out. We turned a corner and burst into a room that stole the air from my lungs. A living room. Our living room. My dad's jacket draped over the chair exactly the way he wore it earlier. My mom's purse on the table. My sister's shoes neatly by the stairs. And on the couch sat 3 dolls. My family. Not posed. Paused midlife. My sister's head slightly turned like she was listening. My dad's hand raised like he was about to stand. My mom's fingers curled like she was holding on to something she couldn't let go of. That's when I understood. These weren't displays. They were destinations. The man's voice came from behind me. "We're missing one," he said softly. "The final piece always resists." I turned to run, and felt it, at my wrist. A faint pressure. Cold, precise, like a blade edge that wasn't cutting yet. I looked down. A pale line had started, a seam, and the moment I saw it, it deepened, like noticing was permission. I didn't scream, because I finally understood the truth. The dollhouse wasn't trapping people, it was finishing them. And the reason every room felt so familiar was because it wasn't built to display a family. It was built to complete one, starting with mine.